disrupted.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. So we turn the news to East Palestine, Ohio, ladies and gentlemen. Another Palestine that gets ignored with the woes of its people. Because, as you know, East Palestine, Ohio was the scene of the crime of the train derailments that exploded many toxins in the air, polluted so many of the rivers and streams around the community, and has affected so many people. But now, almost after a year later, there has been new reports, apparently, of how dangerous it is for the greater community outside the city. And this is even far more devastating that gets underreported for the fact that of malfeasance of trying to cover this up. So, East Palestine train derailment spread hazardous pollution to 16 states, research shows. The February 2023 incident caused by a days-long fire and sent toxins into the air, water, and soil. So, it goes on to say, let me make this bigger for people. The Norfolk Southern train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, caused hazardous pollution to spread across 16 states, according to new research. On February 3rd, 2023, the freight train carrying toxic chemicals like vinyl chloride crashed less than a mile from the Pennsylvania border, causing a days-long fire and sending a plume of toxins into the air, water, and soil. No one died or was injured in the crash, but some nearby residents who didn't evacuate report symptoms like rashes, sore throats, and headaches that they feared were related to the contaminated environment. But in their study, published Wednesday in Environmental Research Letters, researchers say the impacts of the wreckage and the controlled burn of train cars containing certain chemicals days after were greater and more widespread than initially predicted. Isn't that interesting? An environmental disaster that affected a huge wide community was underreported. Kind of makes you wonder, kind of makes you think of all the other times that this has gone undone. Just like, you know, when they underreported the Flint water crisis that's still affecting today. But they've underreported because of the malfeasance with the EPA and governmental bodies. They had Barack Obama come over there and pose a stunt where, oh, can I have a sip of water? Oh, the water's so clean. They did the same thing with East Palestine, Ohio, trying to trick the people and saying how, you know, oh, even though this train derailment and there's chemicals in the water's still okay. The water's still able to drink. Look how crystal clear it is. Lied to you directly to the public. It's just absolutely crazy that they deliberately lied to people for this long, and now they're like, after a year later, finally coming clean to this. Finally coming clean to like, oh, oopsie. Yeah, all that water you've been drinking that we told you it's fine. Yeah, it wasn't fine. Yeah, now all that, you know, toxins that are in your body that are gonna, you know, cause deformities and shit in your body. You know, you kind of should have maybe said something earlier about that. Oopsie daisy. And no one's gonna get convicted. No one's gonna press charges. No real measures of accountability to this. In total, the studies estimate that at least 16 states and 1/3 of the nation's population, 110 million people, were actually impacted by the pollution. Those areas spanned 14% of the country's land area, reaching as far northeast as New England, affecting almost all the Great Lakes states, and potentially reaching as far south as South Carolina. To come to this conclusion, the researchers examined the chemistry of the weekly precipitation samples, the National Atmospheric Deposition Program's National Trends Network collected from 260 sites across the continent. Then they compared the samples from the week of and the week after the train accident, January 31st to February 14th, to the past 11 years of observations from the same dates, sites, and compounds. As expected, Data revealed high chloride concentrations in the Northeast, but also in Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Plus, the researchers said the level of at least one chemical compound concentration was elevated to the 99th percentile at 19 NTN sites, and 8 or more sites had 4 or more compounds in the 99th percentile. But their analysis also unexpectedly revealed an exceptionally higher levels of pH in the many northeastern and Midwest states, including Michigan, Wisconsin, Virginia, Indiana, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania, and likely into southern Canada, though there are no NADP measurements there. For example, typical pH values for northeastern U.S. precipitation is between 5.2 and 5.8 pHs per unit, though a typical winter pH is 4.9 pH units. During the accident week, northeastern U.S. precipitation showed pH values ranging from 6.4 to 7.3 pH units. It is very clear that extreme concentrations of multiple pollutants were present over a widespread area during the days after the accident and resulted in enhanced deposition of these pollutants to aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, including the lakes Michigan, Erie, Ontario, and likely Huron and Superior, the study says. Additionally, samples from the sites in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, and almost each site in New York were flagged for containing soot, ash, and dirt. The study says some of its observations are consistent with the flow of the atmosphere during and after the incident. The sites of the largest impact along the Canadian-New York border were downwind of East Palestine in the days during and after the derailment. Then a cold front moved the contaminated air south to Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and rain likely then washed emissions to other states like North Carolina, the study says. Wow. And the sadder part about this is this was going on, and my first instinct, my first thoughts when I first heard about the train derailments, the chemicals flowing in, the same reaction I had with the Nord Stream pipeline explosion was, where exactly are the environmentalists on this? You know, where exactly are the Greta Thunbergs, the Al Gores, the Leonardo DiCaprios, the Ed Begley Juniors that are supposed to be the vitriol of protecting the environment? They're supposed to be the naturalists. They're supposed to care so much about it. Greta Thunberg screamed at the top of her lungs, "How dare you? You're wrecking my childhood." Where's her on this? Where is her on contaminants that are now flooding into a third of the population of America? Where's her on this? Where's her on the Nord Stream 2 explosion that caused an ecological disaster in the ocean? I haven't heard anything from that. I haven't heard anything from environmentalists on this. I haven't heard anything about them with Flint, Michigan water. I thought, that would be a vital issue for environmentalists. Hey, your water, your drinking water, is full of contaminants. There's corruption. There's chaos. There's absolute devastation. And it's affecting nature. It's affecting human life. It's affecting a lot of things. No mention of this. No mention of this whatsoever. So it's devastating. It's devastating that there's no kind of impact to keep environmentalists like that. But it's okay if they discriminate Stonehenge or Easter Island. I saw pictures of that. That's that Stop Oil group. But they don't call out this. They don't call it this devastation. And this devastation, I feel like it almost reminds me of, if anyone knows about DuPont, the horrific stories that come out of there. DuPont is one of the largest manufacturers of Teflon. And they have been counted many lawsuits against them after the residents of, I believe it's Virginia. It's either Virginia or Delaware, where they were downstream from the contaminants from this factory. that were flowing out of the factory into their drinking reservoirs. And these people that were drinking this water, not being told that it was being polluted by by chemicals used in this factory, have now suffered many health problems, chronic illnesses, cancer, birth deficiencies. It's just so many years gone by with that, and there's no accountability. No one's been prosecuted. No one's been held to the heinous criminal contempt that they should be. In fact, it's almost laughable at this point because DuPont and other corporations or other conglomeracies, they just brush this away. Oh, we contaminate your water. Oh, you didn't have a clean drinking supply. Now you got to pay monthly medical bills for your cancer treatment that we caused. Here's a couple bucks. Shut up. They just laugh about it because they're not actually going to do anything to stop this. They're not going to actually do anything in result to supporting this. Even when the train derailment happened, how many times have we seen press coverage of, reporters going up to Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who's supposed to be the transportation secretary, and he laughed about it. He laughed about the fact that so many trains have derailed and caused chemical spills all across America. Oh, oopsie. I guess we're going to maybe do something about it, but not actually do anything about it. I'm just going to stand there and look like a pretty boy. Well, this goes on. This is criminal. This is an absolute catastrophe that needs to be held to a higher contempt. And they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it because they know that the rail system is completely corrupted. They know how impactful corporations are going to be when it comes to covering this up. That's why they try to lowball it for so long. And the fact that they did a PR stunt at someone's home with the mayor and a bunch of EPA scumbags trying to convince regular people that, hey, your tap water is safe, even though there's a bunch of pollutants in there that are going to cause deficiencies within your body. It's perfectly safe. Look how crystal clear it is. Even though the water looks like something I would paint my house with. It's not to drink. It's literally there to paint because of how devastating it is. And I just want to remind people just how devastating this came about. This is from last year. This is from Citizen Free Press. When ordinary people in East Palestine had to do the act of journalism because no mainstream outlets really bothered to touch this subject. They covered it. They said there was a train derailment, but that was it. They didn't bother to actually speculate on why this train got derailed because they knew that there's a conglomeracy, this corporatocracy that was covering it up. They knew there was corruption. They knew that there was some sort of scandal involved with it, and they weren't going to touch it. So it came down to ordinary people who walked outside their house and said, yeah, it kind of stinks out here. So listen to what this guy says about it.
So I'm by the train tracks, roughly, I think where the spill happened, because it stinks out here. I tried to pull in here, and it says road closed. There's trucks over here. There's a bunch of trucks blocking it. The trains, you see the trains crossing over there? There's a lot of people around here. When I tried to pull in here, where it says road closed, they didn't let me. They just waved me away. And it definitely smells over here. There it is. There's trains over, that's where the train's going. It smells weird over here for sure. And there's a lot of people down there. You see a lot of workers. I don't know if they're with the EPA or what. But that is definitely where the train is. And it stinks over here. And you see all these trucks over here. Not sure if they have anything to do with it. You got this guy over here with his home. He waved. Nice people. Nice people. They don't deserve to be nuked with toxic chemicals. This is crazy. There should be so much outrage everywhere about this. It's absurd. And it stinks out here. Man, people just don't deserve to get nuked with toxic chemicals just because railroad companies make an error by not checking their trains to make sure they're safe. They go off, they derail, and then, oh, the only way we can get business back for our $55 billion business is for us to blow it up and just ruin a whole city of like 3,000 people. If there's something we should do like a give, send, go, and get every house here of 2,000 houses, whatever it is, or for the whole city, like reverse osmosis water, so that the next generation of people don't grow legs out of their head. Okay, that is what we should be doing. We should be raising money for that. How about that? Is that a good start? All right, I'm covering more in a little bit.
That's devastating. Absolutely devastating. And that's so many videos that are covered on social media. Like I said, nowhere in the news headlines, the corporate news is not ever going to touch this, because they know that there's a huge conglomeracy of, you know, the corporatocracy of the rail system that's trying to cover it up. There's a, you know, billion-dollar industry that they're trying to protect, and they know that it's going to lose their advertising, and they know that it's going to affect them. So they're not even going to cover this. They're going to just completely ignore them, and those people are just going to have to suffer. As he said, you know, they're generally nice people. These are people that just live in small-town America that get influx and screwed over by the higher-ups that just screw this country 9 ways to Sunday to make a quick buck off your death and disparity. And that's what's going to happen out of this. And once again, it's another Palestine that gets ignored for the chaos that erodes from the higher-ups. That this could have been all preventable. This all could have been preventable, but they chose not to save a few dollars. It's the same with Boeing. It's the same with every other conglomeracy that has done devastation. I mentioned DuPont earlier. Like, you look at all the scandals that happen, a lot of it, I would say 99% of it, could have been avoided. Easily could have been avoided. And we could have actual safe transportation if we bothered to actually invest into safety and protocols and invest into the quality in America. But we don't do that. We don't do that because we don't care. We send money overseas to bomb and nuke other countries by the millions. So, of course, they're not going to care if a small town in rural Ohio is also going to get devastated, is also going to get wiped off the map if they can't have clean drinking water. And that shouldn't be the case. That should not be the case. So I feel so bad for these individuals. Keep mentioning East Palestine, Ohio. Keep mentioning Flint, Michigan, because as far as I know, they're still in a water crisis. And there's so many other areas across America, across even across North America practically, that are dealing with this devastation. And it shouldn't be the case. It should not have been the case. And the response is just horrific. There's more scandals. There's more accusations. It's just, they're not going to do anything to fundamentally help or solve the problem that they caused. There's no obligation to it. But luckily, there's people out there that are still investigating, like ordinary citizens that are out there reporting on this. So, you know, keep monitoring this, because this is affecting people's lives. This is affecting wildlife. This is affecting nature, the community as a whole. And now it's affecting a third of the nation. Maybe that controlled burn that they did afterwards wasn't exactly a smart idea. Just saying.